Hello, welcome to Technical Founders. This is the first video in the Lean Startup series, and we will start with the definition of a startup from the book The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. And the definition of a startup is an organization dedicated to creating something new under conditions of extreme uncertainty. So with that definition, we are going to start with the first part, which is the 5 principles of the Lean Startup. So principle number 1. Entrepreneurs are everywhere. So you don't have to work in a garage to be a startup. A startup is any human institution designed to create new products and services under conditions of extreme uncertainty. This means the Lean Startup approach can work in any size company, even a very large enterprise, in any sector or industry. And as we will see in later videos, this Lean Startup approach method allows very large companies to keep innovating, stay relevant, and avoid disruption by competitors or emerging startup companies applying these same methods. So the second principle of the Lean Startup is entrepreneurship is management. A startup is an institution, not just a product. And so it requires a new kind of management, specifically geared to its context of extreme uncertainty. This new management is the manifestation of Lean Startup execution. So as you execute the Lean Startup methodology, you are, as the founder, the technical founder or otherwise, you're effectively setting the management, this new kind of management for a startup. Principle number 3 of the Lean Startup, validated learning. Extremely important. So startups exist not just to make stuff, or even serve customers or make money. They exist to learn how to build a sustainable business. This learning can be validated scientifically by running frequent experiments that allow entrepreneurs to test each element of their vision. If the fundamental goal of entrepreneurship is to engage in organization building under conditions of extreme uncertainty, its most vital function is learning. We must learn the truth about which elements of our strategy are working to realize our vision and which are just crazy. We must learn what customers really want, not what they say they want or what we think they should want. We must discover whether we are on a path that will lead to growing a sustainable business. So we do this through validated learning. In a startup, who the customer is or what the customer might find valuable are unknowns. Validated learning is the process of demonstrating empirically that a team has discovered valuable truths about a startup's present and future business prospects. Customers reveal these truths through their action or inaction interacting with the product. Most of the time, customers don't know what they want in advance. So we conduct experiments, offering customers the chance to try something and learn by measuring their behavior. That's amazing. We're not getting verbal feedback from customers necessarily, but we're getting behavioral feedback. So based on how they interact with the product, or they click or not. Let's say they close the application, on the payment page of your app. Now you know by their behavior, they don't want to pay for some reason. That's just an example, but through customer behavior is how we're achieving this validated learning. So, in fact, learning is the essential unit of progress for startups. The effort that is not absolutely necessary for learning what customers want is a form of waste and can be eliminated. Validated learning is backed up by empirical data collected from real customers and is always demonstrated by positive improvements in the startup's core metrics. The right way to think about productivity in a startup is not in terms of how much stuff we are building or how many hours we're at the office, but in terms of how much validated learning we're getting for our efforts. This is true startup productivity, systematically figuring out what are the right things to build. The way forward is to learn to see every startup in any industry as a grand experiment. We need a method for systematically breaking down a business plan into its component parts and testing each part empirically. In the Lean Startup model, every product, every feature, every marketing campaign, everything that a startup does is understood to be an experiment designed to achieve validated learning. So that's the third principle of the lean startup. The fourth principle is build, measure, learn. Build, measure, learn is a feedback loop that I've actually drawn here. So a startup, the way to test your ideas empirically and learn, get validated learning and learn the truths about the business are, first of all, you start with some ideas, then you build a product, a minimum viable product, just the essential things needed to test these ideas and to validate these ideas with real customers. So you build a product, and then you measure customer behavior, how they're interacting, how your customers are interacting with the application. So now you have data. You have real data from customers because you measure their behavior. And then once you have this data, now you've learned. You've learned something about customers. Like the example I gave. Let's say they come into the payment page of the application, and the user clicked all the pages. They came to the payment, and for some reason they closed the application. And let's say 80% of customers are doing this, and you're measuring this. 80%, out of all these customers, this 80%, let's say, is actually closing the application and the payment page. And the app, let's say the payment page is displaying a total price for a service. And then now you learned from customer behavior, not because they said they wouldn't pay or because they said they would pay, and then you realize they're not paying and you're wondering, oh, why they're not paying. No, now from behavior, you know the truth about how this product is impacting the customer. So once you have this learning, then you actually have new ideas. So you started with ideas, and this the build, measure, learn feedback loop. You started with ideas, you went through this loop, and you learned. You learned whether your ideas were correct or not, or you learned something new that you did not expect. So you learned something, and now you have new ideas, and then you start the loop again. So you have new ideas based on this data that you measured. Now you go ahead and build further products. So this, for an application, let's say, oh, this feature doesn't impact customers. Let's say only 2% of customers are using this feature. This is like data. This is like telling you this may not be important for users. If they're using all the other features except that one, only 2%, maybe that means you should remove it. So you go and change the code. You build, or you add a feature. Maybe you realize for the users to use it more, you have an idea. So maybe to use it more, you need to add this feature. So you have ideas. You don't ask them, oh, would you like this feature? No, you go ahead and build it into your product. Again, measure the behavior, get data again. Now you learn more, and now you have new ideas. So as you go through the build, measure, learn feedback loop, you're achieving validated learning. You're learning more every time about what customers really want, what they find valuable, and what they don't find valuable. And as you go through this loop, you're getting closer and closer and closer. You're converging on the truth. You're getting closer to finding out the truth about the business, about the product, and all of your hypotheses that you're testing, because you start with ideas. So a startup's ability and speed to get through the feedback loop as fast as possible, especially faster than competitors, is an absolutely essential and key task in any startup. Very important: build, measure, learn feedback loop. Now the fifth principle of the lean startup is innovation accounting. So once we're going through the build, measure, learn feedback loop, and we're learning new things and building product and measuring customer behavior, how do we actually know that these efforts, these features that we're adding, or that our efforts are actually improving our core metrics? So innovation accounting is a framework for entrepreneurs to hold themselves accountable, for innovators to hold themselves accountable, and also for investors or mentors or other people to hold entrepreneurs accountable. So the innovation accounting, the main thing is really knowing whether your efforts are really leading to you growing a sustainable business, whether your core startup metrics, the things that actually drive the growth of your company, whether they're actually improving by the things that you're doing. So it's just a framework, really. You can have systems, and you should, I think, but it's really a way of holding yourself accountable, that you're actually achieving validated learning. And this could involve, boring things, boring things, for example, measuring progress or setting up learning milestones, because startups don't have normal milestones necessarily. They may, but the most important kind of milestone that a startup has is a learning milestone. It has actually several learning milestones, and as you go through the build, measure, learn feedback loop, you're actually hitting those learning milestones, and then you can decide whether something about your ideas is wrong and maybe you should change. We call it a pivot. So you're going to come to a point, especially if you're using innovation accounting, you'll realize whether you should pivot, change an element of the strategy while keeping one foot firmly anchored and just changing one element of your business model based on what you're learning, or to persevere along the current path. So that's what innovation accounting is. So these are the 5 principles of the lean startup, and we'll go into further detail in the following videos about the lean startup. But if you have any questions, any thoughts, any comments, please leave them at the bottom. The feedback, again, is very important, because even this channel could be thought of as not a lean startup, but an experiment, and getting your technical founders or potential entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs or current entrepreneurs who want to become technical founders, get your feedback. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you would like to hear if something was not clear. So just provide feedback, and this will get better and better. And this lean startup approach can work in really, you'll realize later once you start making all the connections that it can apply to any other aspect of life. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.